Welcome to Seeing Scarlet. It is Shelby here with Tyler, who's over there on spring break, living it up. His internet might go in and out, but we're gonna vibe through it. But he's here on his own spring break because he loves Texas Tech sports. They fight, we fight. That's our motto. We're here. Softball went down to Baylor and swept them. Swept them. We're gonna talk all about it. Historic happenings with that program. They're off to SEC country, South Carolina, to play number 10 this weekend for a 3-game series. That's going to be hype. Basketball. This is March for both teams. We hinted. People that watch our show, if you watched our show, you knew this was a possibility. The women's basketball team might continue their season, and they are. They made the WBIT, which is really cool. What is the WBIT? We're going to talk about what that is and why it matters and why it's really cool and who they're playing. Wyoming. We got a little bit of a preview. And, of course, the NCAA tournament for the men. We have a preview on that. If you missed it, I interviewed UNCW's Mike Vaccaro. Great insight into that team. You can check that out. It's on YouTube right now. We'll talk a little bit about that in this episode as well. Track went up to the national championship meet for the indoor, and they had some Natty champs, or at least one Natty champ, a couple of runners-up. Some cool stuff happened. We'll talk about that. Tennis, women's tennis, keeps their season going. Dropped one tough match, but they said, sucks to be you, to Baylor, and they got a top 20 dub on the road for tennis. And then baseball is back. Maybe not. I don't care. They swept Houston, and we're going to celebrate it because that was hype. And everything else in Texas Tech sports is what we're getting into today. Tyler, how's it going? How's spring break?
It's been great. And you know what? We started it off great by going to Waco and watching the Red Raiders sweep the whole entire series against Baylor. Huge, huge, huge for our program. It's actually our first conference sweep since 2019. So huge
Also
stuff.
against Baylor. So shout out
Yes.
Baylor for that.
And it's our best conference start in school history. We're over here chasing a lot of greatness, and we really do have a chance to just start resetting all the record books for Texas Tech softball because we are getting very close to beating a lot of these records, such as like conference wins, stolen bases, most wins in a season, all the
Everything.
things.
Yeah, they could
Yes.
reset a lot of stuff, and that's what this group came here to do. And it's cool to see them doing it. We'll talk about that a little bit more at the end. Just some overall thoughts of what we have on this team. But first, let's talk about the game. So I'm gonna fire up the highlights so we can talk over the highlights so you can see all 3-game highlights. Because if they win, y'all, and there's highlights, we're gonna show them. And so we have 3 games of highlights to show you. So game 1, Tyler, what were your overall thoughts? Game 1, got it done. You were at this. So give us the vibe check in person, and then we'll click play on the highlights and go through the leaders.
Yeah, vibe check was super high. I loved whenever I was pulling into the parking lot with my mom and we just saw that half the stadium was in red and black. I was like,
Oh,
oh, so this is why this game was a sellout because, Baylor fans, I was like, do they even have any fans? No, I'm just joking. But it was a sellout game and we love to see all the Red Raiders there. And the overall game, I will say, they kept us on our toes a little bit, but NiJa Canady is NiJa Canady. When you have her on your team, she can work miracles. She can get you out of anything
that's what she
possible
does.
and our hitters were able to hit and make things happen in order to kind of keep Baylor away. And really, the only run that Baylor got was unearned, and it was just on an air, clean things up, and they probably wouldn't have scored at all. So overall, I thought defense looked really good, especially with NiJa in the circle as always, and our offense was clicking. Everything seemed to go good. This was one of my favorite batting lineups I think we've had. We were able to get a lot of success because I'll just say that Baylor's pitcher throws a lot of junk. A lot of junk. Like you're going to see
Mm-hmm.
anything from 40 to 50-mile-per-hour balls. Very rarely does
It's
that pitcher
tough.
get it up to the 60s and 70s. So it's tough, and you have to adjust. And if you go on, I think Alana Johnson's account, you can see how she had to adjust to get that homer that they'll show in a minute, and it's just a lot of body movement. You got to dip really low. So lots of great things came out of this for game one.
Absolutely. Let's watch the highlights, and you'll see. We'll talk over it because the audio's kind of messed up anyway. So we'll just kind of talk over it. You'll hear it, but
Got her.
yeah.
Baylor will leave runners on third and
NiJa is NiJa. I mean, good pitching. That's what you need right there. Stances out of trouble in the first inning, and then we come right back up in the next and get some runs on the board. Vic Valdez, she just does her job. That's my thing with her. She just goes up there and does her job. I love it.
Great speed, great bat.
Katie Lott,
She was
show
huge
off
all
the arm.
series.
Show off the arm.
tying run coming home and
Good for
Love
her.
that.
Yeah,
Stopped them
Baylor
from scoring.
threatened. Baylor
Anya.
offense has not necessarily been Baylor's problem this year. And they had runners on base at times, and we danced around it.
For sure.
NiJa is looking like NiJa in this series for sure.
Yes.
Just
Another
unfair
strikeout.
stuff. The movement on her pitches, the way she can change speeds. There's a reason she's the best. Like, she can kind of do everything, and it's just really impressive. Also really impressive.
This was a really
Welcome
cool moment
back,
for Alana Johnson.
Yeah, you tell us. You were in person. You told me about the moment. Go for it.
Yeah, so if y'all didn't know, last weekend Alana was out due to a family member passing, and then she got that home run, and it was really emotional. Her parents were up in the stands, her whole family was. They were all cheering really loud. All the Tech parents were pointing to them, cheering and clapping. It was a really emotional moment for her, so I was really glad she was able to get that. I wanted to get that.
Yeah, for sure. So it was a really cool moment. And earlier in the week, Glasgow, someone asked him where Alana was last weekend, and he brought up that there was a death in the family, so she went to a funeral, and that he encouraged her to go. That she was like really like obviously she wants to go be with her family, but she understood the importance of the Oklahoma State series, so she was really getting pulled in two ways. And he was like, "Don't worry about it. Life is more important. When you look back on this moment, you're going to regret not going to your, I think it was a grandmother's funeral. You're not going to regret not playing in this softball game." And he's right. She may not realize that in the moment either, but trust me, as you get older, you realize those things. So it's cool that we have a coaching staff that gets that, allowed her to go do that. And then she comes back and hits a home run, and you'll see her hit another one tomorrow in the second game of this series as well.
Yes.
An exciting, tight Big 12
Maya Davis just gets on base. Speed.
Speed.
Like, that was just
Double.
such an easy double, like just chilling.
So
Haley
easy.
Toney had herself a game, 4 for 4. The freshman driving people in, big hits, great at bats. You love to see it. Is she a freshman? I don't believe it personally. Oh, look again, Haley Toney.
And it's an RBI for Haley Toney.
2 RBIs for her on the week. Or on the
On the
day,
game.
actually.
Yeah, it was a good game.
Yeah, on the game. Yes.
Baylor has an unearned run at this moment. Justice for Alexa Langeliers. I know it's in the rule book, but this obstruction rule is just ridiculous. I don't understand why we can't. Like, how is she supposed to? You can go find the highlight on our Twitter. She had to go cross the base path to catch the ball, right? Because this is softball. The name of the game is throwing the ball and hitting the ball. So she had to go catch it as she was supposed to do. And so she did have to run in front of the runner. And so they call it obstruction, which I guess by the letter of the rule is the rule. But they need to change that to, like, I'm pretty sure at home plate, if the throw throws you into the baseline and you have to go catch it, it doesn't count as obstruction unless you just murder the runner or something. Anyway, so that's how they got that run, but it was unearned because she got on base for, I think, an error at first base. So just context, but you see that little one up there.
Punch down towards left. Left fielder is playing in.
Haley Toney
Make the catch. It's over the glove of Dawson.
had a game.
So Texas Tech will reestablish a 3-run.
You like
This
getting a
was a
little
good
cushion in the
insurance run.
seventh. Yeah, you love that.
Yes.
It's good to see us getting those runs late in games.
NiJa, another strikeout.
I just said I don't need them, but it's nice to have them. Thanks, team. That is your Big 12 pitcher of the week. Probably not the last one she's going to get in her career here, but she got one for that game. You'll see her in Game 3 here in a second. She also stepped up, but yeah, those are the leaders. We kind of called them out as we went, but NiJa Canady went a full game, 7 innings, 0 earned runs, struck out 7. Haley Toney, who you saw a few times, 4 for 4 with a double, 2 RBIs. Alana Johnson had a yaboom. We talked all about it. She was great in this one, great in the next game as well. And then overall, as a team, we stole 4 bases, which is a trend. We're eking up closer to that stolen base record game by game. It really could happen in April. I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure the team, I don't know if they care about it or not, but it would be cool. So we're going to track it for them, even if they're not going to track it. So that was game 1. On to game 2. We'll pull it up here.
Ready?
The audio, like I said, is a little bit weird. It's starting off in the first inning. We wasted no time in this game, and we just put it on Baylor 14-0. 14-0. And I would just like to say, a lot of people are like, how could, it's cool, Texas Tech, you're winning games, but I need to see you do something when NiJa's not in the game. She entered the game for 1 at-bat late in this game, and then they hit her. But other than that, NiJa did not take part in any of this, and we won 14-0. There's a lot of really talented players on this team, and they're starting to come together. Chloe Riasetto was a dog all game in the circle, just quietly went about her business. And Alexa Langoliers had 2 ya-booms. Started off strong with this one right here.
To swing, yep.
She sure was. Deep to left field and gone.
I don't know why the audio's like that, y'all. Sorry.
That got out of here in a hurry.
Feel bad for all the cars in the parking lot when Alexa has to come up to bat.
She's dangerous. She's murdering them
Great
out there.
location here by Riasetto.
Look at that
Ooh,
frame.
beautiful.
We talked about Vic
Beautiful.
Valdez being number 7 in the nation at framing pitches last week, and we were like, I don't know how they're tracking that. Well, that right there is a great example of framing a pitch that's right on the edge.
Better off
Great by
guard,
Chloe too. Great
not
location, but Vic
anticipating
helped her out
that
for
pitch
sure.
the strikeout.
Good stuff.
Anticipating that pitch for the strikeout.
She's like, what the? Ew.
Last
Give Vic throw out the runner all the same inning. She had herself an inning.
Napping down at first.
It's not easy to catch someone lead off, pick off type on second like that.
Oh,
Oh,
movement there.
Alexa.
A beautiful play by Langoliers.
I mean, she's
Multiple avenues.
Crazy.
another
Hit deep right center
yaboom.
field.
Alana Johnson,
Over
2
the
games
wall,
in a
and the
row.
advantage overall
She can hit
is
them.
now at 4-0,
She can hit home
Texas
runs.
Tech.
That's for sure.
Thanks to
And we
2
just
home
kept
runs.
scoring in this game, y'all. Again, 14-0.
Hot shot. Deep to right center
Runs it
field.
down. No
To
big
the
deal.
warning
Maya's here.
track,
It's
and
all
the
good.
play is
All
made
good.
by
Good hit,
Maya
Baylor.
Davis.
Got some good contact there. It happens,
Warren
but
battling.
did her job.
Waddell throws down to second.
Pressure bust pipes.
Pylon loses the handle.
I don't know. We made them make a choice there, and they made the wrong choice. But you like that we're forcing
Lays
people
down
to do
what
that.
looks like a
Yeah.
good punt.
Whew.
But
Bailey
covering
Lindemuth,
hot to
man.
make the
I
play
bet
is Lindemuth.
if you go to practice for this team, it is so fun. It has to be so enjoyable to just sit there and watch Bailey and Bailey Lindemuth at third and Haley Toney at shortstop, both freshmen, take ground balls. I mean, they've had some mistakes this year because they're freshmen and it happens, but they are so smooth defensively, both of them. And Bailey was an absolute vacuum all series at third. She was making plays like that are not easy. Look like routine ground balls, no big deal. And teams are going to keep testing us because we are young. And so, yeah, that was
Back to the top.
that was just one of like 10 plays just like that. And then this from Vic. I mean, the defense
Vic
was
Valdez.
flashing. I really like Vic
The
Valdez.
dive.
It's so
Yes.
casual about it. I don't know if that ended up on Sports Center, but it deserved to.
Strokes it
How
It
about
should've.
Kylie Huffman?
over the head.
She's a tiny little thing, but she just cranked that. And they had Baylor was like playing like their fielders were like standing on the bottom of the U of BU in that outfield there because they were like, oh, she's a slap hitter, and she just said, oh, you're gonna play that close? Forget this. She cranked it. That's a freshman, another one of those freshmen, a part of that number 2 recruiting class.
And it loops over her head, bounces off
She's so
the
casual
wall.
about it too.
Davis.
And then Maya loops it in, and Kylie Huffman can absolutely fly if you didn't know that, so she scored easily from
Huffman
there.
crosses home
Not a
plate for
problem.
the 6th run of the afternoon for Texas Tech. Ooh,
And this is just Maya Davis
Thanks.
being a menace,
Oh,
scoring
Maya.
from first off
She's
of
go-
2 throwing errors.
Davis.
Oh,
If
She
you're gonna
kept
try to
going.
throw her out, you better throw it well, because if you make a mistake, it's another base.
And there's a
Oh,
shot
and then Alexa
deep to
says,
left field.
let me get another.
Off Dawson
Goodbye.
Contu's
Something about that Langoliers DNA and hitting home
And
runs
also
in
the
Waco.
fans here at
That's what
Getterman
they do
Stadium
if
are
you're not
thinking
aware.
this.
Her brother did
Hit
that
Hit my car.
for the Baylor Bears, but luckily she's doing it for us.
Right back up the middle. That'll score a run, maybe 2.
We scored like 7 runs, I think, in the top of the 7th inning. Something like that to really pour it on. Second game in a row, we scored in the 7th inning. You'll see us do the same thing in the third game. Good trend to be seen.
Make web gems like that, but another run does come across.
Your hits to errors.
Yeah, their
ratio,
shortstop was
and,
really good. Shout out her.
You got to clean it up defensively, and you got to find a way to get hits on the board.
Lauren Allred just puts together good at bats.
Allred.
She just does.
She does.
I mean, mentioning past players or whatever. Kaylee Wyckoff, we all enjoyed watching her from the left side last year. I feel like different players, but the way they go about approaching at bats and the way they watch pitches and stuff, I always really enjoyed watching her hit. And Lauren has become that player for me. Haley's getting there. They just have good eyes at the plate and they just kind of do their job, and just the way they go about it. I really appreciate how Lauren Allred approaches hitting. It's fun to see.
She rolls.
She had, I think she was 3 for 4 in this game with a triple. You just saw it right there. Had an RBI. And we scored again. I don't remember, a single or something got those 2 in. It was 14-0 at the end of this game. Chloe Riaceto did what she did. She was a dog, capital W, got the win. 7 innings pitched, only 4 hits allowed, 2 strikeouts. I think she only walked 1 or 2. Just big, just quiet out there. She just like goes about her business, not flashy about it. Doesn't need to be, but if they get on base, then she'll handle it. I just really like it. She's settling in. Her speed's getting up and all that, so that's really good to see. A lot of people did well in this game hitting-wise. You would think so, having 14 runs. Langlers went 2 for 5 with those 2 home runs, 4 RBI. Lauren Allred, 3 for 4 with a triple, 2 RBI. Alana Johnson, 2 for 3 with a home run, 2 RBI. Maya Davis, 3 for 5, 2 RBI. I believe she had a stolen base as well. And just a lot of people had RBIs in this, so great stuff in Game 2. Any thoughts before I move on to Game 3 highlights?
Yeah, no, I want to give a huge shout out to Chloe in this because I think that Baylor was thinking that, their hitters, so, they had to go up against NiJa and they were like, they saw Chloe last year in that first regional. However, and I think that Baylor did score, like those games were high scoring, but Chloe completely got the shutout. And I think at the beginning of the game, things were a little bit concerning because, she walked like 2 of them and then Chloe just did her magic. Her dog, she is a dog, got us out of that and then just left them scoreless. And she just really got better throughout the entire game. And that's what you love to see because it's like if you don't necessarily need to depend on NiJa to win that series on Sunday, Chloe, have at it and get us that series win because that is huge for us as we're starting to inch closer toward, what will our seeding look like or 12 going to look like later on. And it's just a lot of momentum to carry in that. And then Sunday, NiJa can go do her thing, and then you could potentially get a sweep. So huge, huge, huge for Chloe. She's already had 2 of those starting in the second game and really helping us get that win. So shout out to her in that.
Yeah, we need that to continue. It's good to see. She's confident out there. She could carry the load if she needs to, but she's happy doing her role on this team right now. And if those 2 keep doing what they're doing, that's a scary little duo. Those are the only 2 pitchers we saw all weekend in this. Nobody else pitched because she went a complete game and NiJa went 2 complete games. And this third game, here's the highlights from that, where NiJa went a complete game. And it was like this game was not a perfect game. It was a typical Sunday, I said, wiggle in your cedar type game. We made some mistakes. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But mental monster game is what I called it because I thought we had some mental mistakes, some different things. But we're able to overcome that. We were able to get out of trouble in this game. We kept fighting, kept scratching, kept pulling. I've watched a lot of Texas Tech softball pre and since starting seeing Scarlet, and I'm telling you right now, we don't win this game most years when we have those many missed opportunities that you'll see. I don't know if you'll see it in the missed opportunities and the highlights and some of the mistakes, and then to still have that about us, as you'll see late in this, to come back and get 3 runs late to win it is really big. So here's the highlights. You're gonna see a lot of NiJa Canady. She strikes out 6 in a row at some point in this game, which was insane.
Walker was able to post in the top half. Got her. First
Nice.
strikeout of the ball game for NiJa
Solid.
Canady. And 2 strikes.
Another one. This is just a NiJa Canady highlight reel for a bit.
For NiJa, but good. Only giving up 7 earned runs.
I mean, just watch her work.
And she's just got
a lot of them were swinging too. They just couldn't catch up to it. She was going to pass on this one.
Last year,
Just couldn't get it. Those are some good hitters too in the middle of the lineup. She was striking out. Again, Baylor has some good hitters.
They have a lot in the 400.
Yeah, they were hitting pretty good before this series.
Get on any way she can to give Baylor their second
They were.
run of the day. Not going to happen. 70.
I think this is her 6 in a row stretch that she's in the middle of right here.
Look at that off speed.
And then Anya German pinch hits right here and nearly, I think it's off the top of the wall. That freshman has some power. Right before this, they don't show the highlight because it ended up not being runs, but in the previous inning, we did momentarily take a 2-0 lead off a Kylie Huffman infield single bunt. And it was a great bunt. runs down to first. They peg her in the back, so then it's an error, and we had 2 runs come around to score. The official ruling appears to be she stepped out of the box, and it's really close if you watch the replay, but it's one of those mental mistakes if she did it. Things to work on. Really close call by the umpires, and I believe it's an unreviewable play as well, is what I was told. So couldn't even review it, or maybe we'd use our channel.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, so we had taken a 2-0 lead. Again, a mental monster type game where you finally break there, you take a 2-0 lead. Don't get frustrated. We just keep plugging away. We start this inning well. We don't end up scoring, but we came back right after that moment and started off the inning well and kind of just got wrapping on track.
And limits her to a pinch hit single. Hitter Carrington Dawson with 1 out.
Need you to check out the situation right now. There's already 1 out on the board, but Baylor started this inning. It's late. We're in like the 6th inning here, right? 5th or 6th inning. I can't read because it's tiny on my screen right now. It's late in the game.
Yeah.
And Baylor started off this inning. Runners on 2nd and 3rd. Nobody out. Nobody out. There's not many pitchers, not many defenses.
Oh,
they
yeah.
have 1 out right now, but they started with 2 on, nobody
Yes.
out. We got a pop up to 2nd or something. They didn't show it, but that was the first out.
Okay. Yes.
But they started this inning with 2 on, nobody out. 2nd and 3rd, nobody out. Are not able to get a single person across, and that is NiJa Canady in this defense doing what they do. Like, that's just special work to do that. So she already has 1 out from, I think she got someone to pop up to maybe second base. She's about to strike this person out, which is massive.
2 away.
Look at that stomp. She's
Nice.
pumped.
Really with her first emphatic
Got her on the riser.
Should be big time. And then there was, I think, maybe another pop out or something. She got 2 weekly hit balls, got 2 outs, struck out the other. I mean, that was such a huge moment because we just don't win this game. Well, I don't know. This team has that about them. They might have come back to get a run or something to tie it, but you would put yourself in a tough spot if you had allowed them to score there. And she said, no, that's why NiJa is NiJa.
First pitch off the bat of Allred drops in. She'll have extra.
We started off the next inning. You're like, okay, we're going to do this in the 6th inning. Allred starts, or 1 out. She gets on 2nd with a double. We aren't allowed to bring her, able to bring her around, but she deserves her shine. Great hitting. NiJa again gets out of trouble in the bottom of the 6th. She's about to make a great defensive play to end the inning if they show it. Yep, I believe. Am I making this up in my head? Nope. PFP. PFP. Pitcher's fielding practice, y'all. She gets it done. And now we're into the top of the 7th. This game, this inning started with NiJa Canady pinch hitting. And Baylor plunked her, as they did the day before. I don't know if they're doing it on purpose or they're just scared. I don't know. But everybody keeps hitting her. But whatever. They pay for it because she gets pinch ran for, as you would do. Logan Holloman, the torpedo of speed, is on first base. Vic Valdez is at the plate, top of the 7th, tied at 0, trying to take a lead, trying to get your first sweep of the season, the first conference sweep since 2019. A lot of pressure, and Vic Valdez just does her job. Sends a double. I think she gets a second. Whatever. She sends it to left field, and Logan Holloman, watch her on the base paths. It's not easy to score from first base when the ball is hit to left field, and the girl flies.
And Valdez, first pitch he sees all the way to the
Look
wall.
at it cooking.
Here comes Holloman.
Cooking. She was at third before they even threw it.
Finally finds the elusive run.
That's why it's hype to have players like that available on your bench to bring in.
Valdez will come home. It's 2-0.
Shout out Vic right before this. It's not, I mean, they should have put this in the highlights. I clipped it. It's on Twitter. Go find it. I want to give her shout out. There was a play, I think we bunted it, and she got caught between home and third, and she got herself out of it with a classical swim move where she snuck her hand and pulled her hand back and then stuck this hand out to get to the backside of the base. They couldn't tie her, so she was able to avoid getting thrown out on the base paths, and then like the next pitch, that wild pitch that you just saw happen, she's able to score, gives us our second run of the game, which is big because, I mean, having a 2 right, NiJa is NiJa. She's probably closing that game out regardless if it's 1-0 or not, but it's big for us to be able to do these things, and these are winning play type moments, and it definitely helps your pitcher to have more than 1 run lead going into the bottom of the 7th. So shout out Vic. She just does her job.
Your Coach Moore,
Haley Tony does her job on this play.
really liking what you're seeing, and
Sack fly, Maya Davis. That is not a very deep sack fly. Look, she's barely out of the infield, and Maya's like, whatever, I don't care. She's that fast. She scores on this. Cook. Speed. It's so cool to have these, like, her and Logan are both speedsters. Kylie as well. And then NiJa just does what she does.
Another strikeout victim.
3-0 lead,
Canady
bottom of the
throwing
7th.
strikes.
Sweep on the line. I just said, this is why you brought me here, right?
For Canady.
Little history. I'll make some history for you guys. Gets it done. Texas Tech wins. They sweep Baylor. First time since 2019. And the best start in Texas Tech program history through 2 series. We're now 5-1. Had a chance to be 6-0, but couldn't get it done against a really good Oklahoma State team on Sunday last week. But mental monster type moment, like I said, to be able to do that this week, show that you could sweep a game. And then that's really important. So you have any final game 3 thoughts, and then we can talk about what we overall thoughts and then get into South Carolina. But yeah, cool stuff.
Game 3, it did keep me on the edge of my seat. It got very, very close at times, but
Stickball is
I think
nerve-wracking.
that NiJa, yes, I think though that NiJa came up again huge in that. As you said, you have 1 out, runners on second and third. It's not easy to wiggle
0
out of that,
outs.
and she just did the damn thing. Yeah, 0 outs. Yes, at first, so it's not easy to wiggle out of that. And also, NiJa's, I mean, Baylor's plan for that, they almost executed. They said they count up really high. And I think she literally had, I think, around 120 pitches in that. And she's just still going through it. I know softball doesn't matter as much as baseball. That's still a lot of pitches. Yeah. It's hot outside, working through it. And she just was able to have that magic. And then for our hitters, especially Vic, to get it rolling, and for Logan to go and be a torpedo of speed and come in, I just think that that's huge.
Make her a
that's what you want. Yes, Women's College World Series moments right there. When it's that close, it comes down to just 1 inning to make a difference, and these girls did that, came through and got the series sweep, which again is huge, and it puts us really far ahead in the Big 12 standings, actually.
Really? I haven't even looked, to be honest.
I think some teams that have like or something, and Oklahoma State obviously had that, or had like could only play 1 game, so.
Yeah.
We're very
prayers up to Stillwater. That's a great thing to bring up right here. If y'all haven't seen it, there's a lot of fires and devastation in Oklahoma. Stillwater was heavily affected. They were not able to play 2 of their softball games, and so they only played 1 game. So yeah, they're probably down there in the standings, but because they don't have as many wins, I guess. So yeah, but they'll eat their way back up there. I think Arizona's up there. Some other people, but it's way too early to be scoreboard watching or standing watching, but we can do it for funsies. It's just really cool to see our name at the top.
Yeah.
It's been a minute, a long time. So obviously best
it has been a long
history right there, so that's good to see. Overall, just like, I just really like it. Of course I expected it to happen, but I don't know if I knew to expect it to happen, but just the general vibe around the team from what we can pick up from watching, being at games, the limited interaction we have with the coaching staff, just like in media availabilities and talking through after games about certain things. I really appreciate the level of like a no excuse culture that they're trying to build within this program. That it would be really easy to just focus on the fact that we are sweeping Baylor, or we won 14-0, or we're in these games and just all these things. But you see, and the broadcast talked about it too, and they were noticing it, how hard our coaches were coaching and how our players were accepting the coaching. And that was out of the words of the broadcaster. So it's always nice to hear it from a second-hand, unbiased person too, seeing it. But you can see that. And then when I've heard them talk about certain situations, I'm like, wow, like you think they're just going to be excited that they just swept this team. And they're like, yeah, we're hype about it, but this, and this has to get better if you want to win a championship. And I think that is just, I love that. So I feel like you're seeing a team that's trying to create that no excuse type culture that you have to have in a championship program. If you've ever been around a championship program in any sport, like it's not always chill, happy-go-lucky fun, because it's hard work and there are no excuses. And if you mess up, we're gonna figure out why you messed up so you can win that at bat, or win that defensive play the next time up. And I feel like that's what we're seeing try to be created, and that's really hard to do in year 1. And I don't know if they'll fully get there in year 1, but it's cool to see it happening. But I also see a balance trying to be had both from the coaching staff and the players' perspective of celebrating the moments too. Because you'll see in like the videos that they post where the coaching staff's like, hey, have fun, like enjoy the moment, I think is what they were saying right before they went out and won that 7th inning, if that video is in order. But it looks like that's the way the video was put together, at least. So they're like, hey, go out there and score some dang runs and have fun while you're doing it. And then they go out and they get 3 runs on that Sunday game and they get it done. So that's kind of what I'm saying. There were definitely mistakes in that Sunday game. That's what I was talking about, mental monster moments. You saw some maybe missed signs. Like, I'm guessing there was supposed to be hit and runs, and we had a couple of batters early in the game get toasted at second. I think those were supposed to be hit and runs, and the batters either missed a sign or just didn't get contact. You saw a play in the first. Really cool. Actually, I'm going to give Logan Holland a shout out. Hopefully, I'm just reading into this. You can call me deeping it, but I don't think so. First game, you'll know who I am. The mental side of the game. First game of the series, Logan got pinch hit for Katie Lott because the situation was one where you want someone to bunt, and Logan's really good. She's known as the best bunter on the team, right? She has trouble getting the bunt down, though. She fouls off a couple of bunts, and she didn't do her job in that moment. And instead of leaving her in there, I think the count's 2-2. If you don't know, in baseball, softball, if you foul off a bunt on the second, on a strike, with 2 strikes, it's an automatic out in softball. So instead of risking that, he's like, hey, you didn't do your job. He pinch hit for her again in the middle of the at-bat, put Katie Lott in, who could sacrifice fly because she's better at getting the ball outfield. I think it worked out. I went there, but I don't know what Logan's thinking in that moment. I don't know, but that is hard coaching. And the broadcast talked about it, and I noticed it. You don't see coaches do that all the time. And then Logan just went back to the dugout. She knew she missed her opportunity. She stayed ready, stayed ready, stayed ready. What did she do in the Sunday game? Coach called her name to go out there and pinch run in the biggest moment of the game for NiJa Canady. And she said, okay, I'm going to do my job this time. I'm going to do my job. And she scored all the way from first on a ball hit to left field. Right? Like, those are the moments I'm talking about where they're being coached hard. There's a no excuse mentality that they're trying to get out of these players, to be fearless, to go after balls on defense, check yourself in mentally and not miss these signs. All these things they're trying to get them to. And you're seeing players bit by bit get there. But that's just what I'm trying to get, because there's a difference between being a really good team. This team's going to win a lot of games. You can already see that. And then there's a difference in winning a championship. And they're trying to push them to win a championship. And I really appreciate that as a fan, someone that covers the team, a really washed up former competitor myself. You know what I mean? Like, I love to compete, and I'm still pretty competitive even in my old age. I like to see that kind of attitude, and it's just different. There's different programs that you've been around or seen, even on our own campus, that have that aura about them. And then there's other ones that you follow here or elsewhere that don't. And it's just about, like, having fun or whatever. And I feel like you're seeing this team strike the balance of both. And that is really exciting, because if they can strike that balance, that's how you win championships. So I don't know, just a little bit of overall thoughts. People were asking kind of what we actually thought of this team and where they were, and that's kind of where I'm at. Is it's early, and they're still making mistakes like that, but you're seeing them being coached really hard, and them I've seen players accept that coaching and then step up when their name's called later in the same series is really cool. And the more they can do that, I think the farther this team's going to go. So that's kind of my overall thoughts. And then on the fun side, I don't know what the circumstances were, but it seemed like one day they had an off day, and the coaches or somebody rented out a slip and slide castle looking thing in the outfield. So the players got to have a little fun, which was cool to see, because at the end of the day, they are college students, and that's that balance I'm talking about. They should get to have some fun, celebrate the first sweep since 2019, and then I'm sure they got right back to work for the South Carolina series today and the rest of the week. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. You can take off from there, Tyler.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I actually was going to talk about that moment that you brought up, and I think it just goes to show that, yeah, that's what Glasgow's been doing, I think, all season. Like, these girls, they like to take hard coaching, and they know that it's nothing personal. It's just they're all here with one goal. They're trying to, they're shot at forever. They're trying to win a championship like that, and they've been taking it really well. They've been learning from it. We're starting to put them in positions where, maybe they'll have more success over there in the outfield, or maybe they'll have more success over at first base. Maybe they'll have more success in this batting lineup, whatever it may be. So I think that's been pretty cool that we've got to see that from them. And then later this weekend, it's not going to get any easier. As we said, we have one of the toughest schedules in the country, if not the toughest one. And we're going to be taking on South Carolina. They're number 9 ranked, number 6 in the RPI. And we're going to take them on Friday at 5, Saturday at 2, and Sunday at 11. This South Carolina team, guys, as we said, they're no joke. They swept number 8 Duke. They won the series against number 13 Georgia. They took OU down to the wire. But they can be beatable. They lost to Coastal Carolina.
For sure.
And this is a team that I think they're really great at hitting. Their pitching isn't as strong. So when you're taking that great hitting against a NiJa Canady, we might find some success and we will find some success against them. Some leaders, just for y'all real quick. Quincy Lilio, has a 482 batting average. Ariana Roddy has a 391. Carly Shelton has a 352. And then Lexi Winters has a 351. And then as far as their pitching goes, their best pitcher has an ERA of a 2.6. And then their other pitchers all have everything between 3 to 5. So again, their pitching isn't as strong, and I think that's where OU kind of got them near the end of their series. But they're at bat; they can put together some really beautiful at bats. They can really ball. The defense just has to keep on their toes. You have to make great plays, really small margin of error. But if you do that well, and then you have NiJa pitching, and then we're able to get some offense generating on these pitchers, we should we should have a successful series, hopefully, and this would be huge for our RPI because I think Baylor not being so great kind of dropped us down a little bit. We can climb back up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
sure.
that's kind of what my thoughts are on South Carolina.
Yeah, for sure. They're a good team. Their ERAs might be a little bit up, but I wouldn't read. They've pitched well against some good hitters as well at times. They've been in some shootouts as well with OU, so they can play both ways. But they played a really hard schedule themselves, so it's going to be a test. Their defense has also been really good. I believe they have some of the better defenders that you'll see at different positions. So we've been really good at testing teams and forcing teams to play good defense, and that's how we scored a lot of our runs. So I'm excited to see that matchup with us. Is like, hey, just put the pressure on, keep putting the pressure on until they break, and go get you. If you get a series win on the road at South Carolina, you're gonna turn some heads around the softball world. That because we kind of just stayed steady where we are in the rankings, which is totally fair. I think that's great for this team. You don't want them to be getting anything that's unearned at this point anyway. We've just kind of stayed at 13, and now we're at 12 the last couple of weeks, and because we've done our job. Basically, we're just doing what we're supposed to do as a good team right now. This is a chance to go beat an SEC team, a team that'll probably be in the postseason. This is going to be a postseason type super regional type feel to this early in the year. NiJa looked like she's getting much closer to herself. She just practiced for the first time last week. I don't know if people realize she wasn't even practicing and still going out there and pitching the way she was for us, but she's getting back to where she's able to do more work, and we saw her get up to the plate a couple of times as a pinch hitter, so I think that's a good sign that she's getting close to being fully 100. And so I think there was some thought on if we would pitch her or not on the road in this, but I think we'll probably see her at least once. I would think, since she's been pitching so well. We'll see. I would think we'll go normal thing on Friday, and if she's feeling good, and then let Chloe do her thing on Saturday, and then we'll decide on Sunday if we need to. But I wouldn't be shocked if we need more than NiJa and Chloe in this series. I hope we don't. I hope they're that dominant. But our freshman pitchers need to stay ready, and they could have a chance to do some big stuff in this as well. So I'm excited to watch. There's a lot of sports going on this weekend, but it's ironic I just moved to Texas. Otherwise, I would have been at that series in person. It's only about 2-3 hours from where I used to live. So I already told some friends to go on my behalf. I'm going to see if they'll get there and wear the correct red and black, not their red and black. So yeah, this is a really cool series, big series. It'll be on ESPN Plus, I assume. Probably SEC Network, actually. It's SEC Plus, being an SEC team.
Yes, it could be a huge series, and as you said, even if we only see NiJa once, or if we see NiJa twice, or we get our freshmen some work, like I said, we also are in the midst of conference play. It's one of those series that kind of got added in the midst of it. So again, obviously, we are also trying to not only do well further in the postseason for the NCAAs, but we also want to do well in the Big 12. So, but either way, if you even just get one win, it's still huge, and it really can help your metrics. And it really shows, where we stand with the rest of the country, because SEC softball is probably just as tough as Big 12 softball is. They are. So, some good things that could come out of this weekend that we'll see. We'll give them the edge, just a little bit.
Not
Overall,
top
yeah.
teams, but
right.
The depth over there in the SEC is pretty deep now. I think they are learning how good OU and Texas are, because they've done pretty well for themselves to start SEC play.
Yes.
I think they've only lost one game between them, and they've playing some really good teams. So that's what we had to deal with the last couple of years. It's just nice to see them doing what they do over there. So we play South Carolina on the road this weekend again, and then we're on the road again after that next week. We'll talk about that next week, but the NiJa Canady homecoming series in Kansas. And then we're finally back home on April 4th for a series with Utah. So you still got a couple weeks, but go ahead and get your tickets for that. If you can, get them now, because we're going to try to keep up in that attendance record that we've already broken once. I think it's going to be broken a few more times this year, is my prediction. So shout out softball. It's been a lot of fun. Hoping to up some coverage for them in different places, write some more stories about them, do what we can for this team. They deserve it. So it's going to be a fun next few months. So into basketball, Tyler. They fight, we fight. We said if they get into the WBIT, we would be here with bells on. I'm really happy for the players. They seem excited and ready to go from everything I've heard. They've been practicing. They were a little bit in basketball limbo last week, so there's only, I'm sure they were doing individual stuff, maybe some team stuff, but now they're going full go, and I've heard the practices have gone well the last couple days since they've known they've been in the tournament, and they're really hype, and there was some nerves, like everyone thought they might be in, but they were not 100% sure either until they got the call on Sunday. For people asking what the WBIT is, put some respect on their name. I'm seeing some trolls. If you're going to troll, I don't care, but troll accurately. That's all I ask. If you're going to be a troll, don't be doing negative narratives. The WBIT is the second best tournament on the women's side. It is not named the NIT. There is a WNIT. These trolls that troll for fun and they don't actually watch women's sports, so they don't know the dynamics. The WNIT was not ever sponsored by the NCAA. It didn't exist, actually, because the NCAA didn't give a shit about women's basketball, let's be frank. And so they didn't give them a secondary tournament like they gave the men on the NIT side, which is sanctioned and funded by the NCAA. And so an independent organization many years ago, said, well, F it, we'll just start our own. And so they started the WNIT on their own. And so has nothing to do with the NCAA because the NCAA didn't do it. And so that's what existed for forever as that secondary tournament. And everyone just assumed, oh, that's just like the NIT for the men. Had the same name, but they weren't equal at all. They were not funded by the NCAA. You kind of had to like bid and pay your own way to do it. All of a sudden, women's basketball starts getting coverage the way it deserves in the last few years. It's shot off, and NCAA was like, oh, wow, there's money here. People will watch a secondary women's basketball tournament. Who knew? Idiots. Anyway, so they started their own. They couldn't call it the NIT, though, because they don't have the rights to it, because this other organization owns the name. So they had to come up with a new name, the WBIT. That's your history. Don't make me tell it again, I hope we don't have to, because I hope we're not in the WBIT next year, but this is the NCAA sanctioned secondary tournament. It is paid for. It's a big deal to be in it. As far as teams that didn't make the NCAA tournament, the top 4 seeds in this tournament were the last 4 out from the NCAA tournament. They automatically get into the WBIT, and then any teams that won their regular season but didn't win their conference championship, i.e. mid-major teams essentially, get automatic bids, like poor JMU, who was also a first 4 out, but they're in this tournament. James Madison, 16-0 in the regular season, but lost their conference tournament. So this is a chance for them to keep playing. And then there's teams like us on the other end, power conference teams, who didn't quite have a good enough record, didn't have the season that we wanted, but we came on strong at the end, get in here. So it's cool for the players. I'm going to watch them. I'm hyped for them. I hope they go on a run. They're very capable, if they're healthy, if they're into it, to go on a run. There's no one in this bracket they can't beat, but there's some very good teams that they're going to play. And that starts with Wyoming. So give any overall thoughts that you have or jump into your preview. Tyler, as always, put together a great little mini scouting report on Wyoming that the team plays on Thursday at 7:30 p.m. So right before the men's basketball game, you can watch the Lady Raiders. There's no conflict. It will be on ESPN+.
Yeah, no, I'm actually, a lot of people are like, oh, well, like, is the season over or whatever? We were having conversations within my student section, the Scarlet Stampede, like, do we do a goodbye post or whatever? I'm like, I'm still holding out. We might be able to get something. And the team wasn't, so we're not, right? So I think that it was just a huge opportunity for us to be able to go to the WBIT and to really get a bid for that and to play in it, because as last week, it was probably one of the toughest things to watch us go out when we had put such together a good run in March, and for it to just go out the way that it did against OK State. And, it's such a privilege and honor to be able to cover this team closely. And I was like, you know what, like, let's go at it and let's do it again, hopefully. So we're taking on Wyoming, and just because you see Wyoming on the screen does not mean that they're not a good basketball team. This team dropped a 3 overtime heartbreaker to some. I don't even remember the team, but they had a heartbreaker against some team, and they obviously did not get their ticket punched to the NCAA tournament.
San Diego
So
State.
now they are. Yes, I think so. Yeah, yes, that's who it was. Against us, and this team, I would say, is very have a lot of seniors on this team. Obviously, they just came off of that heartbreaking loss. They're going to want it, and that's high altitude. I think Laramie's at about 7,000 feet. A little bit of concern. So our girls are just going to have to want it. They're going to have to work hard and breathe, breathe heavy on the breathing.
Lots of oxygen.
They kind of get through it. Yes, lots of oxygen to get through it. I think that the biggest thing is you have to figure out a way to stop Allison Fertig. She is a 6'4" center. She's a senior, Mountain West Conference Player of the Year. She averages 19 points per game, leads the team, 12 rebounds per game, leads the team, 8th in the country in rebounding average, and about 2 blocks per game, leads the team. She does, however, average around 3 turnovers per game. So that's one way that's important. That's one way that you can try to stop her. It's behind her. We have Melanie, whatever her name is, Peterson. She's a junior guard, averages 14 points per game. She leads the team in 3-point shooting, about almost 40%. And then she has 4 rebounds per game and 3 assists per game. Emily Malema, a senior guard, 10 points per game. She's also a good 3-point shooter at about 39%. He also has a lot of high turnovers. Both of those last 2 guards do. They average also around 3 turnovers per game. And then lastly, Tessa Barnes. She's a guard/forward, 9 points per game. Another good 3-point shooter. Also averages around 2 turnovers per game, and she also has about 4 rebounds. Basically, my takeaways from Wyoming, hearing that, is the whole team averages 14 turnovers per game. So if we are able, which I know we will, we're going to press, hopefully, but I don't know with the altitude thing, that can get a little tough. But if we can press them, make them turn the ball over, and you need to make Fertig as uncomfortable as possible. Because I've watched a lot of Wyoming's games, and from what I saw is that if you can stop Fertig and keep it that way for a full 4 quarters, they really don't have any identity behind that. Yeah, they have a few good guards, but I think that our depth can really cover them. And this Wyoming team's no stranger. They've had a few common opponents with us. They lost to Colorado by 6 points. They lost to BYU by 13 points. They lost to Gonzaga, who ended up 20-piecing, but they ended up losing to them by about 11 points. Lost to Missouri State by 12 points. Then they lost to New Mexico, who we played earlier in the year and won, but then they won the next round. So again, and all of those teams that were mentioned in that little segment I just gave in common opponents, they lost to all of them, minus New Mexico. So we have opportunities to win this, but again, they're one of these teams that you're going to have to stop that one player, that one big post, with Allison Fertig. And I think another good thing is that also they are not great free throw shooters. So just keep that on watch. Fertig is not a great free throw shooter. Shoots about almost 60% from the line. If it comes down to that, hopefully we take the edge in that. But that's kind of my overall thoughts on Wyoming. What did you gather for them?
Yeah, that's great. As always, Tyler crushed it. Out there just watching the Wyoming tape. Tyler, you're going to just, I don't know what you want to do in life, but you're off to big things. I can already tell. So yeah, great stuff. I agree. Obviously, they're post players, the key to their team. But the thing that concerns me about them is that they have so many shooters around her. It's a really well-built roster for how they do things. They know who they are. They know what they're good at. They know what they're not good at. And they built their team around that. She'll make the player herself. But also, it's not a post player. I mean, she's 6'4", so Sarah's 6'4". I'm sure Kyla will get some run, Jalen, all of our post players. But I don't know that we can help down there too much. So we're going to really need our post players to individually take on that challenge the way they have late in the year against a lot of post players. We need them to bring the same effort they have against others. At least just make it her life hard. Make her turn it over at times. Just don't make it easy on her, because you can't help too much is my concern, because they do have shooters around her. You talked about a few people close to 40% from 3. That's really good percentages there. They can shoot it. I'm sure you noticed it when you watched them, the games. I saw them play Colorado earlier in the year, and they gave them some trouble at home for sure. They're very patient on offense. They don't play with a lot of pace, and they'll just kind of run their offense until they get a good look, and then they'll take it. So I'm hoping we don't get lulled into that, because we talked about the altitude factor, and the one time we played at altitude was at Colorado, and I don't know if it was the altitude or if it was just Colorado plays that way, similar style sometimes, where they can lull you to sleep offensively if you let them. And I feel like we let Colorado lull us to sleep. And then we didn't do that. We had a completely different game plan against Homer. We executed the game plan better. I don't know. Again, we don't know what the game plans are going into the game, so it's not really fair for me to say that. But the game plan that we saw out there was not executed well. I'll say that at Colorado, but it was at home. And I feel like that's kind of Wyoming's plan, is like to lull us to sleep. They know that we have better athletes. They're not stupid. They know that they're going against a power conference team, but they believe in their skill, and they believe in their team basketball, and they believe that they can make us play at their pace, and we can't allow that to happen. So yeah, speed them up. I don't know if it has to be in the full court. I'm sure we will play full court for a lot of the game, because that's what we do, and we'll throw a lot of bodies in there. But to me, it's like in the half court defense as well. Make their life a living hell defensively, and I think you'll win this game, because they do want to take their time. They do want to pass it around. They do want to get it into their post player and then let her make decisions for there. Don't let them get it into her post player. The best post defense is your guards playing like absolute menaces on the perimeter and not allowing their guards to pass the ball in easy every time. So it may sound counterintuitive to some people, but to guard that 6'4" post, our guards are going to be a big part of this game plan, in my opinion. You need Danae Fritz to be being Danae Fritz that we saw in the Big 12 tournament and just stealing the ball every time. If they're going to stick it in front of her like that, she just took it. Logan Johnson, they stuck the ball in front of her in Kansas City. She said, "Are you stupid?" And she took it and ran, right? When Bailey had big moments, Jazz was having big moments. We need all of our guards. I think we could see some Bird Barton in this. Who knows? You play for the future in these games. We need Jalen. If she gets pulled out on the perimeter, Kyla, all of them need to be absolute menaces defensively, and just annoy the shit out of them. I know that's not an official scouting report, but that is my scouting report for us defensively, is just go out there and be menaces and annoy the shit out of this team, make their life a living hell, and make them turn it over, because they will shoot the ball. They're going to get good shots. Reminds me a little bit of Utah in that way. They're just going to run their offense, go about their business, do their job. But you know how we made Utah look in Kansas City? We sped them up. We made their life a living hell for 3 quarters. And that's the way you have to beat this team. A couple of concerning, I guess important stats to watch that I find intriguing is the rebounding factor and then the free throw factor. Because I think those are 2 areas that are going to win the game. Because intriguingly, they do have a 6'4" player that rebounds it well individually. But as a team, they're not super high in like offensive rebounding percentage, where we struggle, right? They're like in the 28th percentile in the country. They only rebound 28% of their missed shots offensively. That's not a high number. For instance, it's like 28th percentile is pretty low in the country. So for whatever reason, they don't offensive rebound a lot. Maybe they just don't attack the boards a lot. But we really struggle in that area. So both teams are looking at that in different ways, right? Like we're like, hey, that's an area we struggle, but this team's not good at it. But they're looking at it like, hey, that's an area we haven't always been great at getting second chance points. But this team allows a lot of second chance points. So who wins that? Do we go in and being like, oh, they're not very good at it, we don't got to worry about it, and get lulled into sleep, and then they're all of a sudden having their best offensive rebounding game ever? That can't happen. If that happens, we lose. Same thing on the free throw side of things. They don't go to the free throw line a lot. They don't shoot it well, as Tyler noted. That's not a big part of their offense, getting free throws. But they also they also don't send their opponents there very often. They don't seem to foul a lot on shots. I don't know. They're in the 95th percentile at sending their opponents to the line, as in low. And that's an area where we're really good at getting there, right? So areas that we're really good at, they're really good at stopping. And areas that we're really bad at, they're not as good. And that might sound like a good thing, but to me, if you're following my logic here, it's who takes advantage of those kind of flipped stats. Same thing on the turnover side for us, right? We turn it over a lot. They don't force a lot of turnovers. So that should comfort us a little bit, right? But if it comforts us too much and we go in there lackadaisical and all of a sudden they're turning us over, in addition to what they do well, they're going to win the game, because that's an area of a game they don't usually get points off of. They don't usually score off turnovers. So if they score off turnovers because we're giving them easy stuff and they're doing what they do well, they're going to win the game. It's those crossed over kind of contradicting stat categories, in my opinion, of rebounding, free throws, and turnovers, where it feels like, oh, wait, that's an area that we're bad at, but they're bad at it, so we'll be cool, and they're thinking the same thing on some other ones. No, it's whoever wins those and you don't get lulled into sleep on it is where I'm at. I know that's steeping it on the stat side, but that's how these basketball games are sometimes. Is like, yeah, sometimes it feels like, oh, we have a big advantage in that area, but do you? So we'll find out, because it's going to be who wins that rebounding, that turnover, and that free throw line kind of categories, in my opinion. They're going to run good offense at times. They're going to get points in the paint because that's what they do. We're going to get points in transition off of turnovers, hopefully. We're going to make some threes and do what we do, but it's those areas that I've kind of circled looking at the metrics where we're kind of evenly matched in a lot of categories, and then those are like opposites. And whoever wins those opposite categories, I think wins the game. So being on the road, I think we might actually be a metric underdog on all the sites because it's a road game. If it was at home, we'd probably be a pretty clear favorite, but we haven't shown to play well on the road earlier in the year. I think this is a completely different team the last 2 weeks of the season, and I hope that's the mindset they have and they feel confident about that. But they're going to have to go in there with that kind of annoy the shit out of them attitude, be happy that they're playing, and want to go win. If you're in it, you might as well win it. Like, only 32 teams in the WBIT. You win the game, you're in the Sweet 16 all of a sudden. Like, it's you win like 4 games and you got the whole thing. So it'll happen quick, but they can get it done. If they beat Wyoming, they will play the winner of Virginia Tech and NCAA. So a couple of teams up on the East Coast. I believe if Virginia Tech were to lose, maybe we might host on Sunday, because we were supposedly supposed to host this game, by the way, against Wyoming, but we couldn't because of a Brooks and Dunn concert on Thursday night that had already been rescheduled because of the fires on campus. It was supposed to be last Friday, and they had to move it to Thursday. They couldn't move it again, and so we just couldn't play, and that's why we got sent on the road, which is a tough break. But this team has battled adversity all year, so hopefully it's just another one, like, okay, bet moment for this team. Like, yeah, cool, we're used to this shit, like the snowstorm and all the things weird stuff this team has battled. Oh, some green smoke on campus keeping us from having a home game. Okay, bet, let's go to Wyoming and win anyway. Like, I hope that's the attitude they have, because they've had some weird stuff happen. But yeah, so they go on the road for this one, and assuming Virginia Tech doesn't gobble choke, as I would say, as the turkeys up there. I have a lot of Virginia Tech friends, so I'm just giving them shit. If they're watching, I don't know why they would be, but you go up there and play them, so that's some fun travel. You go from Wyoming to East Coast for a Sunday game, but again, adversity, bring it on. Do you have any notes on Virginia Tech? I know they have one player. We have some players that will be very familiar with her because she's from San Antonio, and I believe they played AAU basketball with her in Winslow. But I know you looked at them, so if you want to give a little mini scouting report, go for it.
Vibes are high. The dub Thursday, and then I don't hope Virginia Tech wins, but if they do win, which is probably likely because I kind of looked into NCAA and they're not the best, but who knows?
They were like right down the road.
Who knows?
Where I moved from. I actually seen them play. They're not a bad team.
They're not a bad team. They are 20-point underdogs, but you know what? It's March Madness. This is March. Anything can happen. So win and NCAA wins, but if not, and Virginia Tech wins, yes, they do have a really good guard. She's a redshirt sophomore named Carly Wenzel. She averages 15 points per game, 3 rebounds per game. She leads the team in scoring. She leads the team in assists, and she's a 35% 3-point shooter. And then behind her, it just gets even more large with the or it just gets a little bit behind her in scoring. But in double figures, you have Karis Baker. She's a 2% show. She's a 6'2" senior forward, 12 points per game, 8 rebounds per game. She leads the team in rebounding. Matilda Eck, she's a 6'2" senior guard and forward. By the way, 6'2" is the tallest that this team is, so we might have just like a slight with Sarah, maybe Kyle.
No
just a slight like inch or two off of them. Yeah, no disadvantages though. This girl averages 12 points per game, 4 rebounds per game. She's a 40% 3-point shooter. And then lastly, they have Lainey White, who's a junior guard. She averages 9 points per game, and she's a 50.8 3-point shooter. And she leads the team in that. Common opponents: Florida State. They lost badly, able to hang with Florida State earlier in the year, if y'all remember that heartbreaking loss. And then they beat SMU, someone who we lost to, but they beat SMU 71-79. This team also really, they turn the ball over a lot, averages 15 turnovers per game. Their defense plays man. I do think though that their offense moves really well. If you can't tell, they love to pass the ball. They love to get the ball to all their scorers. They have scorers who score in double figures. One is just shy of that. Their offense flows well, as I said. They have a lot of spacing. They run a 4 out and they just move. They cut. They have a lot of motion. They make the appropriate shots when it's appropriate. I think though that we match up a lot better with Virginia Tech than we actually do Wyoming. Just by watching it, I feel like it's more evenly matched. I think that we might have some even more advantages over them. It's just that this is a team that I think is one of the four that got left out of the NCAA tournament. They're coming off of their coach leaving them to go to Kentucky. So they're kind of in this, oh, we're going to try to win this attitude. We're going to try to do this with whatever coach they have now. Carly stayed, so that's also a big factor in that. But overall, I think that we match well with them. But again, it's going to be, I think they're going to try to move the ball a lot. It's going to be faster paced. And that's kind of what I gathered from them.
Yeah, I saw them play a couple of teams in the ACC this year. They have good individual players. They just kind of, honestly, not too unsimilar of a season to us, just different reasons, right? They had a coaching change and a lot of players left, and they got Carly to stay. That was massive. I think maybe Carly and Bailey might have played on the same AAU team out of San Antonio. Wonder if she knows Bird as well. I think she's from Texas, so she probably has some connections. I know we recruited her. Great player. But they played some teams pretty well in during conference. I think they got at least one upset on the year. I can't remember who they upset, but I remember watching it. Maybe they beat Clemson or someone like that made the tournament. But yeah, they beat Georgia Tech. That's right. I watched that game. If y'all remember early in the year, I just pulled it up. January, they beat Georgia Tech, who at the time was ranked number 13, in double overtime. They can score points. It's the defensive side that has gotten them at times. So interested to see if we can take advantage of their defense and then force them to turn the ball over a little bit. But we'll see. We have to beat Wyoming on the road first.
Yeah, we got to beat Wyoming.
And Virginia Tech has a great atmosphere. They have good crowd support. It'll be a great atmosphere to play in. Just hit my brain. We do have at least one player on this team that has experience playing in that gym. Baylor beat Virginia Tech at Virginia Tech last year.
Yes.
NCAA tournament. Danae had a lot of big defensive plays in that game. So she has a little bit of experience against some of these players, the ones that are still here. And she's been in that environment, which I assume they'll still have a good crowd. They just have a good, similar to Texas Tech, they have a good women's basketball community there that really supports that team. So we'll see if they gobble choke. There's a good chance maybe we could host if there's no conflicts on Sunday. I didn't get that confirmed, but they said, that's possible. So we'll see if that happens or not. I think we might host down the line, though. I was told if they make it to the third round, we would host. So I hope that's true, because that means that's for a trip to the Final Four that's in Indianapolis, because third round is the Elite Eight. Like, it goes quick in the WBIT. So, yeah, anyway, that's Lady Raiders. I don't care. I love basketball. I love watching these players play. It's not always the case with teams. Sometimes you're just as ready for the season to be over as other people, but I wasn't really ready for the season to be over. I want to keep watching them play, so I hope we get to do so as long as possible. And again, there's a trophy on the line, so go get it. Win some confetti. Have some fun over the next couple weeks. I'm down. I mean, why not? If you're in it, might as well win it. Let's go do it. Any final thoughts before we move on to men's basketball for a brief preview on them?
Yeah, no, like you said, it's a great opportunity for us to go out there. If you're in it, you may as well go ahead and win it. These girls, obviously we accepted the bids, so it sounds like they want to be here. They want to keep playing more basketball, so you need to go out there with that attitude you had in the Big 12 tournament and just win the damn thing, win the 50-50 balls, be aggressive the entire time, adversity, be resilient, and then, yeah, you can be coming home with maybe some hardware, banner, t-shirt, whatever we do for WBIT. Either way, it's going to be hype. It's going to be fun.
Tyler on the spot. If they make it to Indianapolis, are we road
trip? Okay. Yeah, let's road trip. Let's do it.
I'll pay for the gas. Bring some people along with you.
Okay. We got it. Yeah.
We'll be there. If they make it to Indianapolis, Seeing Scarlet is going on the road.
Yes.
Unless it involves Tyler missing class, then I won't. force him to do it. I don't know.
Oh, well, yeah,
I'll
I
let
don't
you
know.
make that choice.
It
I'm
would be
not
pretty
going to
lit.
hold you to it.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
But yeah, so we'll see how that goes. That'd be hype. Let them do the thing. Another team that is in the NCAA tournament is our men's basketball team. If you want a really big, in-depth preview, get to know the UNC Dub Seahawks, UNCW out of Wilmington. Again, I talked to the voice of the Seahawks in an interview yesterday that's on YouTube, probably just one video back from this. Very insightful. You can learn a lot about their players. Really tough team. They literally use our slogan, and I'm not joking. Like, I don't think they realized it was our slogan, and I don't think our fans realize it's theirs, but I've seen their team tweet it, so I knew when we got matched up, that was the first thing I thought. I was like, LOL, our fans are going to hate this. But they use toughest team wins. That is their motto this year. And that's been our motto since Grant McClassen got here. So both teams are built on toughness. It's going to be a dogfight early, especially until I'm hoping we take control. But it could be a 40-minute dogfight. I don't know. It's March. You never know. We should, in theory, be able to wear them down. And if our shooters are shooting well, which is an area they self-admit to struggling in their losses this year, they got beat from the three-point line is where people got them. Just flying around. If you can just move them around, you can eventually get an open look. And our team, of late, everybody on the court can really shoot a three when we have certain lineups out there, because even JT can get them up if you're going to leave them open. So it's a dangerous three-point shooting lineup, but we have to hit because they go about it a little bit differently, where a lot of their points come from the paint, and that's a little bit more consistent, right? Because it's right close to the rim. But they do have some three-point shooters. They have a guy that's near 40%. He just doesn't shoot them as much as us. Like, they just have different philosophies. So, again, you can go back and watch that interview. I know Tyler has some thoughts, so I'll let him give his thoughts, and then I'll close it up with that. But I'm excited to watch him play. Late game on Thursday night, 9-10. As I said yesterday in our video yesterday, though, just prepare yourself. It will not start at 9-10. It's the last game of the day. That means they get pushed back by every game before it in that session. So 3 games happening on that court before them. Every time one goes over, this one's getting backed up. It's probably 9:30 or later. But anyway, we'll watch it. I think it's on True TV. Let's go do the name thing.
We have a really good, whenever the bracket got released, like, yes, there's some teams that I'm obviously going to be concerned about. And after listening to that interview last night, UNCW
Always
isn't
concerned.
totally. Yeah, I'm a little concerned. It's not an easy dub just because when I think about, like, that 16 seed UMBC beating Virginia that one year and all these other crazy upsets, they
Fairleigh
tend to
Dickinson.
happen, though. Yes, it happens at the late night games. It's super late at night, last game of the night. Everybody's like, oh, this is going to be whatever, easy blowout, and then things happen. But you know what? I have faith in Grant and our team. Things are not going to happen. Let's go ahead and blow out UNC Wilmington. I mean UNCW, as they prefer. But let's go ahead and get that dub with them. I think that as far as looking at this team, I think the biggest thing is we just got to be healthy. We got to be ready. We got to be healthy. Toughest team wins. We got to keep fighting. And then other than that, I mean, we should be in check for maybe a potentially special season. Who knows? Some exciting things are happening. But yeah, shout out to Mike for doing that interview with you, for you getting him on the show. I've also seen other Red Raiders podcast people that have also gotten people from UNCW. So watch it all. Scout them, because I'm going to be honest, I didn't know UNCW. I didn't know that. I knew they existed, didn't know about their basketball team. So give you some insight, because yes, we do have 2 very different philosophies. And it sounds like if 3-point shooting isn't going well for us, then they may have the advantage there. But if we're able to limit them on their scoring other than the 3-point line, then we may have the advantage. So just some things to watch out. Be able to get that.
Oh, yep. And you're back. All right. I just wanted to let you, in case sometimes I don't know if it's on my end or if it's on your end, so I just let you keep talking and you come back. But hopefully y'all heard everything that he said there. Good little report. Yeah, they're a fun team. Learned a lot about them over there. People don't realize, again, I lived over that way, so I'm familiar with the school. They don't have football at UNC Dub, so sorry, that's what they call them up to UNC Dub. UNCW to continue. They call themselves UNC Dub. They don't have football. They would consider themselves a baseball school. They've gotten really good at softball of late. They do, tennis. They were hyping up all the things yesterday, but I know them as a men's basketball school, even though they haven't made it in 7 years, 8 years. They used to kind of be in there pretty regularly. They used to put some high-flying numbers offensively. When I first moved that way, they were a fun team to watch, and they just kept like missing the tournament by losing their conference tournament, but they were close. So yeah, they're back in it now. Their coach really well respected. Grant and him have gone at it before when Grant was at UNT. I think it's going to be a dogfight at least early. I'm hoping we wear them down. And if we're healthy, I think our health is a big thing. And Grant did say that he expects Chance and D5 to both play, but he didn't commit to the extent of what that would be on either of them, because I don't know if he knows yet. They're in the process of rehab. So we'll see. I feel a little bit more confident on D5 because I think that's an injury he's been dealing with all year, and we've kind of seen him be able to bounce back from it, and he's used to it. I feel like the Chance ones came up recently, and those are always more concerning, but Chance is a tough guy. He's been off for, a week or so now, so hopefully he'll be all right. He's a really important player to this team. And then JT was just sick, but it sounded like he drank too much water, which happens if anyone's ever played sports. You can literally waterlog yourself. That's what Grant said. He overhydrated and was just kind of throwing up during that game. But so it's not an injury, so he should be ready to go. And they have a 7-footer. He's going to have to bring his A game. He's more athletic on the inside, but they got some size on him. But he's the Big 12 player of the year, and he needs to be the Big 12 player of the year. And just kind of, if he takes hold of this game early, I think it's over. Because that's where their strength lies. They have some really good guards, though, so don't get it twisted. When we say they aren't shooting a lot of threes, doesn't mean they can't. They're just efficient when they take them, and they play more inside than we do. But they have some good shooters. And they have a guy, Sean Moore. You were talking about those upset teams. He played for Fairleigh Dickinson 2 years ago when they were a 16 seed that beat number 1 Purdue, and he had 19 points in that game. So he is no stranger to being Cinderella. And I think he's the only player on this team with NCAA experience versus our team has a lot. I think everybody that will play in this game for the most part has played in the NCAA tournament. I don't know if they've won a lot of games, but they've all played in it. So hopefully they can win a lot of games this year, go on a run, get it done. And yeah, that's where they're at. If they win that game, they will play the winner of Missouri or Drake. I am a big Drake basketball fan. I've watched them a lot. And so when I saw that name pop up, I was like, damn, because I wanted to watch them go on a run. And I'm like, dang, we're going to have to ruin their center. I really think they're going to beat Missouri. Like, I'm just like in my head assuming they're beating Missouri. Missouri's a great basketball team. Don't get me wrong. But Drake runs beautiful offensive basketball. And ironically, Ben McCollum, who is their head coach, was a D2 legend. He was just winning national championship after national championship at the D2 level. We, when Grant McCaslin was hired 2 years ago as the head coach, tried to bring him over as our offensive coordinator. He was like, everyone like assumed he was, remember how he waited so long to hire our staff? He was like it. He was the guy that Grant wanted. That was his first choice. It sounded like he was going to take it. And then he kind of drug it out and then ultimately decided, hey, I'm going to stay here another year and I guess wait to get a head coaching job is what he did. So this is his first D1 head coaching job, and he is one of the best offenses in the country. It's what he does. Defensively, they're good enough. They're not as good as us defensively, so that would be where we could beat them. Missouri, I've just seen them play. They're a typical SEC team. I haven't watched them a lot, but they're physical. They have athletes. We'll see if Drake can match up athletically and get the upset, but I think a lot of people are picking that. I just love to watch Drake play because I'm a nerd, and I love good offensive basketball. And Ben McCollum can coach some offensive basketball, y'all. If you haven't watched him play, watch them in the Missouri game so you can enjoy it. And then if we have to play them, you won't enjoy it as much, trust me. But yeah, so that's tough. And then both those teams are very close to where we're playing in Wichita. Drake is in Iowa, and then Missouri is obviously in Missouri, right across the road there. So they'll have big fan bases there as well. So it'll be interesting, the home matchup there. But yeah, anyway, that's kind of where we're at. We'll talk about them. I don't know if we'll do another show this week or not. Probably not because I'd be on a Friday. But if we surprise, maybe we'll do a live show for Board on Friday. If both teams win, we'll do a little hoops show while watching. Maybe we'll watch the softball game and do a hoops show or something. That's amazing. That's like a 20% chance of happening. But we'll think about it.
Yeah, and like you said, both Drake and Mizzou could be tough opponents that we might have to play. But as I said, I'm looking at the bracket or the way I filled my bracket out, and you do have a shot at making it to Sweet 16, Elite
Pretty
8,
good
Final Four
after that.
championship. It's all pretty good. We got a pretty good bracket. So hopefully we can take advantage of that.
Yeah, it's tough. I think though I really think our region is really hard, but if some other people do some work for us on the bottom, maybe we can.
Yes.
But all of them are hard.
Sure.
What I'm saying, I think it's gonna be madness
Right.
this year, both on the women's and the men's side. We don't get to spend a lot of time talking about the women's NCAA tournament because we're not in it. But watch it, y'all. Women's
Yes.
basketball is getting better and better every year. It's so much more competitive than it used to be. I love basketball, but even I didn't used to enjoy the women's tournament because you had to wait till you got to the Elite Eight before there were actual real games. There were just no close games. But in the last 5 years, I mean, if they did not play at home, I think there would be a lot of upsets. But the women's tournament is still the first 2 rounds are played at the higher seats home stadium. And so it's that home court advantage that makes it tough for a lot of upsets to happen, but there's usually still some close games. And then once we get out of that and they're on neutral sites, it's really fun. So that's going to be fun. Watch them both. Watch the Lady Raiders go on a WBIT run. We'll see y'all in Indianapolis. Then we'll travel to San Antonio after that. Seeing Scarlett on the road. And we're gonna win a WBIT championship. We're gonna win a national championship on the NCAA tournament side. It's gonna be a fun few weeks. And then softball's gonna win the Big 12. Lots of trophies in our future, Tyler.
Lots of trophies.
Speaking of trophies, Tyler, look at that transition. We had the National Championship Indoor Track and Field meet this past weekend. Y'all heard us preview that last week. Watched it on ESPN. Plus, we did not come away with any team championships, but we did have one individual champion in Timitope Adeshina. She is a electric, just absolute bonkers athlete. If you've never watched Timmy is her nickname for short. High jump, you're missing out. Since I'm this way now, I'm excited to watch her in person. If she's still around next year and she doesn't go pro or something on me, watch her in person. Well, I still have the outdoor season coming up, so I'll get to go watch her in person.
Yes.
She just flies in high jump. So I watched that live, and she was not the favorite going in. She was in fourth in the country going in, but she was definitely one of the contenders. Worked her way up there, got to the end, got a season best 1.94 meters, which I believe is 6'4" in 1 quarter. She jumped over, we've said this before, but she cleared Sarah Seringbe for the women's basketball team. Jumped over her, just right over her. I mean, she jumped over our guards with like 4 or 5 inches to spare. Like if Bailey Maupin was standing there, this girl jumped over her with 5 inches to spare.
Crazy.
Wild. Anyway, so she won it, got to the end. She tied it with a Georgia girl. They both weren't able to get the next height. And they can share it, or they can go to jump off, and they're like, F that, we're going to share it. So they're both national champions. And Timmy is the first ever Nigerian-born athlete to win an NCAA high jump national championship. Ever. A lot of track athletes come out of Nigeria, so that's impressive. So she did that. Behind her, Evelyn Lavelle. She had a personal best and finished 8th. So our women's team had a tough day on the first day with sprints and didn't get anybody in the finals. But our field events did work because she did that season best jump there for her as well. And then in the triple jump was really cool. Tamia Washington on the final jump. They get all these attempts, right? She's in 6th place on her final jump. Season, personal, life best jump. Goes crazy and goes from 6th place to 2nd place on this one jump, her final attempt to move up. She does it. That's clutch right there. She jumped 45 feet in a quarter. I used to triple jump. I was not jumping 45 feet, obviously, or I would have been in college. I think I would get like 33 and be like, hell yeah, like, let's go. Felt good about myself. She's jumping 45 feet. Absurd stuff. Speaking of Bailey Maupin, I wonder what Bailey Maupin's best was. She was a state champion triple jumper, I believe, and a high jumper, because that's Bailey Maupin being crazy. Anyway, so there's some ties into basketball. She did that, just really clutch stuff. I'd love to get her on the show sometime. We might have to reach out to both of them and see. And that's a cool story because, again, the national champion last year in indoor triple jump was a Red Raider and Ruta Lasmain, who had her season end. You'll have heard her say that earlier for an Achilles injury, and that's really sad. Just shows the depth of this team that we then just had someone finish 2nd. And I think another girl in this same competition finished 11th. and to have that depth where we're missing the best in the country and we almost win it again. Runner up is pretty cool. So shout out her. I think that was her Tamia's first trip to nationals. So we'll see her again. Shelby Frank, you'll have heard us talk a lot about her. Finished 5th in the weight throw. That is 3 years in a row now that she's an All-American. Should be an All-American in track. You have to finish in the top 8 at the end of the year. So 5th gets that done. On the men's side, Malachi Snow finished 7th in the 60-meter. So he's an All-American. Shamir Uter, 6th in the 400. All-American. Malachi Snow was a double event performer. He finished 3rd in like a really close. If you haven't seen the highlight, go watch the highlight of the 60-meter hurdles. He finished like his time was actually tied with the second place guy. They had to go to like the 1,000th second to determine who got second and third. So it was a really close race. And then Antoine Andrews for Texas Tech was in that race as well. We were the only school that got 2 people into the 60-meter hurdle finals. He finished in 6th. This was a cool story. The men's 4x400 finished 2nd with the 3rd fastest time in school history with 3 minutes and 3 seconds, 3.77 seconds. It's really fast. Just trust me on that. They basically ran a mile with 4 different people in 3 minutes and 3 seconds. It's kind of crazy. And they came into that race. I'm sure that's not the same people are running. Relays are weird, but they came into that race with only the 14th best time. They put their best 4 out there, and they almost won the whole damn thing. The highest finish at nationals in school history in that event. In total, the men finished 8th with 22 points. The winner was USC with 37 points. On the women's side, they finished in 10th. But they did get the most points in school history at the national meet with 21.5. They all came from field events. So, man, it was there. I don't know if they could have overcome. I don't know if they could have won it. I'd have to go look. But we just didn't get our sprinters in. We had a couple that everyone expected at least make the finals at least, and some others that could have. But that happens. You know, it happened on the men's side too for a lot of schools. That's why you run the races, you know? You get there and you see who does it on game day, so to speak. But still a really impressive, best in school history ever, 21.5 points at nationals. So growing the program there on the track side. Go track. So they'll have a couple weeks off, then they'll get ready and go back at it for the big outdoor season ahead.
Congrats to track on a great indoor season. Both of them, both men and women, are Big 12 champs. That's a huge deal, and they can take that momentum into the outdoor season, where that should also be fun to see in these events. Also, the running will be a lot different because the track is a traditional 400 meters. So who knows what we'll get to see? But yeah, track is tracking. So hopefully, track is tracking. So hopefully, they're on track to make more history and potentially get a national championship in the outdoor side.
Hype. Another team on track to do some cool stuff and maybe have one of the best seasons in school history is women's tennis. They did drop a tough one on the road at TCU, who was ranked top 40 team. We battled, but if we drop the doubles point, again, I am an amateur tennis analyst, but that's been my talking point for this team all year. It just feels like if we win the doubles point, we're set up really well. We dropped the doubles point, which is unusual for us, but shout out TCU, they're a really good team. And so then we had to win 4 singles matches. We couldn't do it. We ended up losing that match 4-2, I believe, on the road. Regrouped, bounced back, went over to Waco, and took down number 20 in the nation, Baylor. I think same score, 4-2. We did win the doubles point in that one, which is a good thing because I don't think we would have won had it not, because it came down to 2, I guess, what are they called? Matches at the end.
Matches.
Where it was tied. Yes. We were up 3-2 at that point. We just needed to win one of those, and Baylor was going to have to win one. Looked like they were on their way to winning one of those, but we won the one we needed to, so made it 4-2. Probably if all those play out, it would have finished 4-3. If we don't win the doubles point, that flips and we would have lost. So again, shout out our doubles team. Our number 1 doubles team with Maria and AV is number 5 in the nation right now. So they do a lot of heavy lifting, but the other people you gotta win 2 of 3 of those matches to win the doubles point going into singles. So women's tennis is a lot of fun to watch. Hopefully I'll get out to match at least once here in person. If they're have a chance to clinch the Big 12, I'll be there. And maybe we'll both be there in person, and we'll be there to celebrate if they get there. It's tough now. TCU, I have to check the standings, how much that affected us, but being able to beat Baylor was big. Needed that because that was the second team right behind you in the standings, I think, or at least rankings at that point. So go tennis.
Yeah, it's huge win. I think Sheriff was the one that got us the winning point in that.
Clutch.
And yes, and actually, Avi and Maria moved up today one ranking, so they're now number 4 in the country
Let's
in doubles. It's a
go.
program record, and in our
Let's
team we maintained our
go.
number 14 ranking. So yeah,
Chill.
so we really good. Got to see that doubles point because that doubles point super important. And guess what? You have a chance to see that doubles point on Friday. We play at home against Houston at 1 o'clock, and then
I'll
we
be there for
play
that.
at home Sunday against UCF at noon. So y'all be there and y'all watch it, and we could get 2 more Big 12 wins because that would be
Need to
huge.
do
So
it.
yeah, y'all watch this
Only
number 4
dropped one.
doubles team. Like yes, so very important stuff going on for women's tennis. So yeah, go watch that number 4 doubles team because they're good. They're very good.
Yeah, the whole team is good too, but those two, they've already had their movement
Yes,
to again, they've changed tennis. It used to be they'd play this team thing, and
right.
then after that we'd have a doubles and a singles tournament separate. They've already done that in the fall, and this team got all the way up to like the number 3rd ranked team in that. They didn't make it far in the bracket, but they're new. Maria just transferred here in the fall, so they're still getting used to each other. They're just getting better. So shout out them. Hopefully we have a couple more years with both of them at least. I have to look at their ages, but I think Maria is at least just a junior, so don't quote me on that. But yeah, go watch tennis. They're hyped. They get into it. And I did see, at least on, I believe it was Logan Holloman and Reagan Jennings. I think they're friends with at least one of the tennis players. But they did, we talked about last week, sneak over. They posted on their story that they were there when they won. So I think the softball team did sneak
Oh,
over because it's right across the street.
yay!
After the softball team
Yeah.
swept Baylor, at least a few of them made it over there to watch Baylor or watch Texas Tech beat Baylor in tennis. We talked about that last week, hoping that they could. So that's hype. I like when other teams support each other. That's cool. It's a small family of athletes. They know more than all of us yahoos that sit here and talk about them all the time, what they're going through. So it's cool when they can support each other. So that's women's tennis. On the men's side, quickly, let's wrap up. They lost to number 52 Utah 4-1, but then bounced back and beat BYU, who's number 71. So a top 100 win for our men's team. 4-1, their first Big 12 series win of the season. They take on Oklahoma State and Stillwater on Saturday at 1. So keep an eye on them. They've been up and down, but they're fighting. Love to see it. Baseball, I said it at the beginning. Don't let them get hot. Once basketball calms down, we're going to be able to spend more time talking about the baseball team, and I hope they're still swinging and going hard and doing all the things that they did this weekend because that's cool. Kudos to our baseball team. Not easy. I think they had 3 total wins going in that, 3 or 4 wins. They swept. They doubled their win total in one weekend. Undefeated in Big 12 play. I think they were the only Big 12 team to go 3-0 this weekend. So that would mean we're in first. I saw that in a tweet earlier, so don't quote me on that. I didn't fact check it. But someone tweeted that earlier today. So we take it. First place is first place on March 18th. Can't take that from us. What'd you think of the baseball team from what you saw, whether watching or just from afar this weekend?
Yeah, I think that was a huge series win. I mean, obviously, Houston, they may not be the best at baseball, but to sweep a team, it takes a lot of work to sweep a whole team in 3 days. I saw that a bunch of Red Raider Houston area fans went out and supported them as well. So we love that y'all are still going out there and supporting the stickball teams. But yeah, some good stuff ahead as, we are 3-0 and we take on TCU this weekend at home, Friday through Sunday. And I haven't paid attention closely to TCU, but I have seen some of these scores that these other teams are putting up against them. Like I'm talking like like basketball, maybe football scores like
Sounds
28 to
familiar, to
3.
be fair.
So yeah.
Could be a high
So who
scoring
knows? But
series.
yes, maybe it'll be a high scoring series. Maybe we'll completely stomp them 28 to 3, whatever it may be. But I don't know. It looks like we might have a chance to go 6-0 in Big 12 play. So you heard it from
TCU
me
has
first.
really good baseball history. They're usually pretty good. I haven't paid
Yes.
attention too closely, but I am pretty good friends with a guy that covers TCU baseball, has a podcast and does it. He also covers women's sports there. So I know he's going to be talking shit all week. I'm surprised I haven't gotten a message yet about it. So I would love for us to beat the Lizards this week in baseball just so I can give them
Yes.
hell. That would be great. So please, guys, go do that. Again, we'll get to talking more about baseball in depthly when basketball wraps up. We only have so much time on this show, so we're covering all the other teams that there's plenty of people talking about the baseball team as they deserve. So, but we want to give everybody shine. And if this is the only Texas Tech sports podcast you watch because you love us that much, we wanted to make sure you knew your baseball team did work this past weekend. Give them some love. Everybody was hating on them. Show them the love. If you're gonna hate on them,
You got to show them the love right back when they earn it. So good on them. And then just to wrap it up, shout out women's golf. It's been a little bit of an up and down season for them. But Clara Hertova won her first ever college tournament. She got first place at the Valspar Augusta Invitational. And that as a team, we finished 5th. So that was a nice little showing for our women's golf team. Hopefully that'll get them some momentum rolling through the rest of the season.
Yeah, actually, funny story with that. They had to cancel because of weather delays. Everyone was like,
did.
"Well, y'all actually tweeted. Y'all like, so does that mean Clara wins the whole thing?"
Yeah.
And sure enough, she did. So yeah, so
I wasn't gonna
shout
let
out
them
to Clara.
miss it, as they kept
Huge.
going, too.
Right.
They were had it under control, but just wanted to make sure because
Yeah.
they had tweeted the other day.
Yeah,
that
just
she was
make sure.
If they weren't going to count it, I was going to make a graphic for her and be like, first place. I don't care if they're not giving it to her.
Yes.
So yeah, that's cool. You take the wins where you can get them. You did your job for 2 days. Third day you couldn't play, but we won the first 2 days, and that means we win the whole thing. So good job, golf. And that's our show, y'all. Try to fit in as many sports as we can. Watch all the sports. There's a few, tennis sounds like it's at home. You can watch tennis at home this week. Your basketball teams are both obviously on the road because it's postseason. There is maybe a small chance on Sunday. It'd be a pretty March Madness type things to happen there that they could be home for the WBIT on Sunday. We'll see if that happens, but I think we would need to win and Virginia Tech would probably need to lose for that to happen. And then I assume we would get to host over NCAA, I would assume, in that scenario, but I don't know if there's any conflicts.
Hopefully.
And then track is off for a bit. Yeah, so you have tennis at home if you want to go watch some tennis, and then baseball with the big series with TCU. And softball's on the road at South Carolina. Watch it. Big time series with number 10. Gosh, there's so much sports happening this week. We'll be tweeting about it, talking about it. We'll see y'all next week at some point, Monday or Tuesday probably, to wrap it all up.
Yeah, get your brackets filled out. I think the first 4 is already starting right now. Get your brackets filled out. Fill out a WBIT bracket. Let us know who you have the Lady Raiders playing in the championship game when we take the dub and all the things. So exciting things ahead for us.
Can't wait to travel to Indianapolis. Let's go.
Yeah.
Put it out there. I have to do it now. I won't.
Yeah, right,
Tyler,
right.
But I will somehow be there now. All right. Reckon.